2x2, 7 rows deep, and rolling up to the start-finish line. It looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1, and electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into town row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
Hello everyone, we are live now for round 5 of the Simufur ACC GT3 series, season 6, and we are in the other Belgian circuit, which is Zolder. And hear me out, it's equally as interesting as Spa, a very narrow, old school circuit for these GT3 cars to navigate. It's going to bring up some interesting fights, it's going to bring up some interesting racing from all these drivers as they take on the challenge. Lots of curbs, lots of grass on your side. It's really, I think it's a circuit that's pretty much like Snetterton.
Yeah, it definitely is in terms of how narrow it is and also how unforgiving the runoffs are. You have grass everywhere. You don't really have much of a concrete runoff. But Zolder, given that it's still a little bit wider, but at the same time still more beloved compared to Snetterton, judging by its personal layout and the fact that drivers aren't really complaining as much. But yeah, Zolder itself, especially here, turn 4 out at the outside pit where there's a lot of gravel out there, not really a place that people like to go too wide here. So for sure, you have some mixed reviews, but it's definitely not as polarizing as previously. Before, how have you been, Suzuka? It's been a really looking forward to. We have some of the drivers just finished the 24 hours of Daytona in iRacing, and now we are here in round 5 of the series. I hope you have some predictions this time around.
I'd say, especially the AM class, Blue E is looking pretty confident from what I'm seeing from my team, because this Zolder is a weak spot, one of the weak spots of the Porsche especially. So Dirk and Wolfman think they could put the challenge to 1v here in the circuit and maybe steal some AM championship points.
Well, speaking of AM drivers, we got a couple of new TGR cars coming into the AM class. One of them is Fluffy, and the other one I'm not sure the name of. Do you know who is the Firebrand? Firebrand Page is the next. Is next. Both two drivers in the TGR AM class as well. So nice to see both cars have been joined by the TGR gang. The TGR team is definitely growing in size on the grid, so nice to see. As well as Gator Racing is in here as well, coming this weekend by the likes of Chris, but they're in pro. They've been here a while, so nice to see new drivers coming in, as well as just drivers just getting more teams, and hopefully they get better support, as well as just ways to just improve over time. Some of the M class drivers would like to have teams just to be able to have a community to just hang out around on, to just get to shadow some of the faster drivers, just to learn how to drive faster, how to get the lines right, get better development, but get feedback. So nice to see that everyone's getting picked up, and also just having fun around here, and also just I think prepare for the last round of the race, which is next week.
Yeah, Fluffy has indeed proven themselves as a solid driver within the AM class, and has now put themselves under the radar for Tig Gang Racing. And now look at that, we have the green colored TGR Ferrari. And might I point out, Paige and both Paige and Fluffy are driving Ferraris, right? And let's take a look at their numbers. We have the number 16 and the number 44 cars in Ferrari cars. That's a coincidence. I'm not so sure if that's a pure coincidence or not, but that it is interesting.
Yeah. 5 minutes remaining to practice. And yeah, speaking about looking at AMs and all that, standings wise, Juan V is still dominating in the AM class currently, followed by Wolfen behind 17 points and 63 points by the two of them. Dirk though chasing close behind at 57 points. The top three for the AM standings. Silver class though, we got Laporta and Ven separated by 1 point in 71 and 70 points, followed by Electroshock behind at 46 points. So it's definitely a fight between Lapartra and Ven this time around. Ven though seems like pretty quick. Not sure if they're joining. They seem to have issues this week. Hopefully they are able to get their stuff sorted out, but they definitely had a very long, grueling Daytona 24 prior to this race. So hopefully they're able to join. If not, it'll be really much a shame to see them having issues this time around in the standings. Also, they have to fight really hard next week to get things sorted out. In the primary standings, though, in the overall standings, RK running away with 72 points in front, followed by Danak at 45 points. As well as Guayando, both side by side, 45 points. But Danak has wins as well as top three, so he's in front of the standings right now. Guayando will have to fight really hard just to be in front, and that will be top threes for each class. Well, let's see how things go this time around, because top in overall at least, P3, P4, and P5 separated by 2 points. So it's definitely really a fight for top three right now. Actually, top two in the standings. So it's definitely still a very open fight until the very last race next week.
I was about to say Guayando
Yeah.
looking in a solid position until RK just stole the fastest lap by a tenth. So hopefully competition is going to be looking much closer now. It's going to be interesting to see how both the Ferrari of RK and the McLaren of Azure take on this circuit, because these are cars that don't like the bumpiness of Zolder, especially down the massive curb on that chicane that Azure just passed right now. And RK, that can really upset your car, especially if you're in a 296 or a 720S. So while they are coping with it quite nicely, they've actually set solid times. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects them in terms of long-term pace.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how things go for at least the two of them. But compared to but looking at lap times though, only RK and Azure are below the 129 500s, 510s compared to the rest of the cars. Both Caesars and Guayanda though above 29.5. So definitely a separate league between the two of between the pro class. You got RK and Azure in their own fight, Caesars and Guayando in their own fight, and then you have Oras and Laporcho all still fighting close with the pros. It seems like it's a really stark struck pace compared to previously, since you have some of the silvers basically fighting for positions with the pros this time around. So I think some of the pros that have not got this track right are definitely struggling hard. I know I've been struggling hard. I can't be as fast as some of the drivers here in practice. I've only done 30s here, so definitely a track that it seems if you nail turn 2, turn 3 right, gets you basically over a second in pace here.
I kind of get turn 2 and turn 3, but the real challenge is that really bumpy curve on the chicane. You really have to cut as much corner as you can without both A, upsetting the car, and B, breaking the track limit. So that extra challenge of that corner, that's going to be really deciding when it comes to qualifying, but also in the race, as drivers might get caught out and spin, and that's game over for them. So they have to be really careful when it comes to long-term racing once we get into the race.
Yeah, I have some breaking news regarding Ven. It seems like Ven's having a GPU that just failed on them. So I think that's gonna be
Oh.
them out the race this week. But I think if you look at the bright side, they survived the Daytona 24. So it's unfortunate they messed it up here, but you know at least they didn't have it die on the Daytona 24. So nice to see that they did finish it, but unfortunate for them for here. They are gonna be out for this week. Hopefully though, they get it sorted out for next week. But for now, it's gonna be a runaway from is Departure here?
Yeah, Parcho's
Departure
here,
is
but
here.
it's Auraz is the one. Auraz is the fastest silver class driver so far, so I'm not sure if they're challenging for the title or not, but Auraz is really quick as the timing show. RK as well, phenomenally quick, 7/10 ahead of Azure, so definitely a lot of time, at least in terms of one lap pace. But we'll see how the drivers will stack out during qualifying later on.
Auras, if gets good points, definitely can fight for P3. It'll be a little bit too far for Vent and Departure though, between the two
Oh,
of them. But if they
correct us.
can,
Parcho just set their best.
a Departure showing the world that they still have the pace to fight for positions. They definitely need it, or else Vent's gonna have a hard time trying to fight for it. So both drivers need to push it to their hardest this time around just to get any points. But amazingly, all the drivers have finished their practice, and now it will be qualifying for the M class starting first, and then it will be all up to us, the silvers, then the pros. Currently, we'll be waiting for the M's to go out, and yeah, this is Zolder. Amazing track, but as the windmills fill the landscape. But yes, you can see here, very challenging for some of the drivers, as Suzuka mentioned. A lot of chicanes they gotta cut. It's all out about managing which chicane you gotta cut. You gotta cut the first chicane just so you can avoid the second one, or you want to balance it between just mounting both to make sure that you don't have a compromised line. It's really up to anyone's game to see which line is the best, and I think the AMs will get to figure out which one they prefer this time around.
Looking at the AM field, there are quite a number of Ferraris. You have Dirk, you have Fluffy, you have I there was a Bentley there, but I was
Yes,
about to
that is
say
Bentley.
Page, Fluffy, and Dirk. So three Ferraris here. They make up the majority of the grid that we have so far. So as you see, two Ferraris going on their out lap. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do as that Lamborghini cuts the course. Not that it matters because it is an outlap, so you can invalidate and break track limits as much as you want. Just don't do it on your qualifying lap, of course. But yeah,
But I was gonna say it doesn't matter, but it will affect your tire pressure. So don't do that too much, or else you lose
true,
tire
true.
pressure. So you cut the curbs.
That is
Uh,
also true. But 1V out here starting all the way at the back, not really following the cues. So interesting strategy. I think they feel that they can make a solid lap without the need for the slipstream, especially because that has a knock-on effect in giving you dirty air. So 1V wanting the clean air right there for the Porsche to use for maximum aerodynamic grip, and they're looking to make the most using that strategy, while the others go for the slipstream train.
yeah, it could be slipstream, but also sometimes you gotta compromise the fact that you might not have the best lines coming into when you have some car just basically in front of you. So definitely, some people like a clear air just to make sure that they know for a fact they just get the best lap they can without anyone in front of them. Some will just prefer to have a slipstream because they're just used to following other drivers. So it's really up to just the driver's preferences. And we can see here Huang V taking their first laps out. We'll try to take a lap run later on into qualifying, but for now we're just here to make I think we're just here to make sure every driver is situated in their lap times to see where each driver is. Phaser has heard from the chatters between the team chat that they have seen improvements here, so we'll see where the lap times are. Phaser, I don't think people know this, a keyboard driver. Nice to see them still going fast. amongst the drivers here. Some drivers here are on controller, I think, too, but definitely rare to see a keyboard driver driving on the grid. So nice to see them still surviving. But let's see how they fare in this race, though. Wolfen just said 1:31.6, so nice to see them. Just got a new lap record. Ooh, and Fluffy just did 1:30.7. Fast laps from the TGR driver.
Yeah, the newcomer in Tigang Racing proving themselves already with a provisional pole time for now. But remember, the track evolution is going to make those times ramp faster and faster. The more rubber they put on, the more grip they have, and that will play into their qualifying lap times. So these times are just going to cascade slow bit by bit. Now, looking at Bluey, they did not have the best opening laps, but they're looking to be pushing on their next lap as 1V takes provisional pole from them.
Yeah, if we can see that drivers are working hard to make sure that they get a fastest time. Derek on a 4/10 a lap, faster lap on car 26 right here. Definitely improving, trying to get out of P5. So nice to see that they are working hard to get out of the being the bottom of the AM drivers. We still got 3 drivers not setting a lap time yet. Phaser, Page, as well as Quest drivers that are not setting a lap time. Derek, though, a second lap faster. You might want to follow them for the next lap if they are on the hot lap. Let's see. Hopefully they are. That's the downside of not having they're starting following them at the start, but we'll try to get a lap run with them. I think this time around, a second lap faster. Where do they end up? They will go into.
That
That will
is
be
provisional
P1.
pole.
That is
That
amazing.
is
Juan V. Let's see here. Oh, gee, wait, Phaser's still behind here too, but coming a lap with Derek here at Zolder, coming down into turn 3. A little bit of a tricky corner. You gotta make sure that you understand where to turn in and hug in the corner just right though before you come to, into the braking point for turn 4. The solar panels are right. Pretty nice, but you gotta make sure you don't get distracted. Not go too wide here as well. If not, you'll be in the gravel. Straight line, B line, all the way to turn 5. The chicane. Make sure you get a good braking here. Usually you brake around the billboards right there and then to turn left, mounting the first curb. Make sure you miss the second curb for some, but some you prefer to mount the second curb as well to get as much of an exit as possible. Coming to turn 6, flat out left-hander before brake hard into the 2 chicanes. Hug the inside on both corners as much as you can before a careful power out into the right-hander on the turn 7 corners here. Into this corner, make sure you don't go too wide or too inside because you don't want to lose time coming into the gravels. Turn 8 though, a nice little semi-hairpin here, braking just enough, trail it just right. Don't be too greedy on the inside though, also invalidate your lap time. Turn 8, turn 9, both chicanes, smaller chicanes. You see here a lot of corners that you can cut, but I think drivers need to remember that you cannot cut too much, or else you lose a lot of tire pressures in the race itself. Turn 10, make sure you got a good exit for a good lap. If not, you'll lose out a bunch of time right here. Derek just got 2/10 improvements on that time that will give them a 1:30.6, and that is a lap at Zolder. A lot of corners that you can cut, but the problem is when you cut it much, you're gonna lose a tire pressure. This is where drivers lose the most tire pressures. I know for a fact when I race here, I lose a lot of tire pressures at turn 9 itself. So drivers might think that it's nice for them to cut a lot, but they're gonna suffer from it in the race, and that's gonna cause them to either have to be forced to pit in early in the strategies, or they have to be really careful to not just lose positions in the race.
Yeah, that helicam. I mean, that onboard cam is one of the reasons why I love old school circuits like these. You just see the circuit passing by you. Look, it's so narrow. The tunnel vision you get from racing in such a narrow circuit, it's just insane. You feel really fast. You feel on the limit as 1V. Oh, not looks like those rears did not bite well for the Porsche of 1B, and that's not going to be good for their qualifying time.
But qualifying, they did have a 1:30.025, so definitely a very fast lap from them as an M driver. I don't think there's a driver here that's answering their calls right now. Fluffy, 5/10 ahead, but still, even with compared with their best time, that will give them a 1:30.3.2. So still a lot to improve to get anywhere near the top of it. But you can see here the grid still pretty close. They will definitely get them into P2 though, Fluffy, with that 7/10 improvement. Actually, no, I lied. They got a very good improvement in the last sector that gave them a 130.012, the current provisional pole for M class.
Fluffy on provisional pole. What have Tigang done to them? Because this is insane. A few races back, they were somewhere in mid pack, but ever since they got into Tigang, they have been improving lots. Tigang have really gave this kid something.
Yeah, supports with setups, with driver coaching. I think that's definitely what most drivers will like to get, especially in the M class. A lot of drivers in the M class usually have to learn the hard way of how to get fast here. So nice to see that they're improving over time. So hopefully they get to sustain it. At the end of the day, we all can get fast lap times, but who can survive the race itself? I think that will be soon to tell in the race. Though 52 seconds remaining for the drivers, I don't see any improvements on the deltas. I think that's Dirk trying to get a warm up a little bit, or just losing a little bit on these corners because they keep cutting these curves. Though you gotta make sure that you don't cut too much of it. I think some of the drivers might realize that they are losing a lot of pressure in these in the qualifying session. They really have to make sure that they keep it on tracks, or else you might just lose performance. You can see here in qualifying. Drivers though, not much improvements on the timing board in and of itself. Some drivers are pitting. Phaser is in the pits. 20 seconds remaining for this qualifying before the silver class cameras out. Who will get any improvements on this race? I think time will tell on the Delta.
Yeah, qualifying will be closing in 10 seconds, so these will be the lap time. I think these will be the last lap times of RM drivers as they set out for a whole tour around Zolder one last time to try and beat their personal best. Now, as we look over at Fluffy, our current pole sitter, currently improving on their time as well, and right behind them is Dirk to trying to beat that pole position time because last lap they actually invalidated while they were on a good run, and yep, unfortunately, from what I see in the radar, Dirk's invalidated, so they are out of the equation in terms of qualifying, and it looks like it's Fluffy on pole position unless Wolf and Foxtail has an answer, or Quest. There are only two cars that could fight against Fluffy's chances for pole position.
Fluffy curve, actually no, that's Wolf in here in 529. Definitely improvements, but they definitely lost the 7/10s. They gained the most here on this track, but 6/10 still nothing to forget about. 6/10 will definitely bring them very close up to the top 3. That will likely give them top 3. Will that? No, that will give them top 4, just barely before Dirk in the BMW. So definitely a blue E34. And rounding off, it will be actually Wolfen still has a lap. No, that's all the back into the pits, and that will be Silver's out for the qualifying this time around.
What a way to start out a race under a new team. Fluffy on the AM class pole position for Tigang Racing. The
Amazing.
newcomer
Yeah.
already showing their worth in that team as the silver class drivers roll out for qualifying. Speaking of Tigang, we have one of the silver class championship favorites, Laparcho, out on the slipstream train.
Yeah, I think some of the drivers will prefer to be in the slipstream. Right now, especially for the Ferrari, you want as much downforce as you can get. Actually, no, as much slipstream as you can get, just to get through the top speed sections. You have the front straight as well as the back straight that you gotta make sure that you get as much run on. It's usually where drivers try to dive it in for an overtake. Definitely not the best idea, but sometimes you just gotta make it work. So for now, though, in qualifying, space it out just right, just to get a reference. But you don't want to be too close to it, because if you know the driver in front is slower than you, it's going to be a problem, because when you close up too much, you're going to have the car in front of you impede, and it's definitely up to the driver behind to do the gap, to pace their gap between the drivers. Definitely no overtaking allowed in qualifying. So I think Laporte just timing it just right, especially when you're behind Blade Wolf. Blade Wolf's not the slowest driver. They are very consistent in the race, but they're definitely not the fastest qualifier in qualifying sessions. So you gotta really pace it out just right. If you're one to budge, definitely not. You definitely want to be not behind Blade in the race. That's for sure.
As we look over to our local leggy artist, Raph, in the number 28 Mercedes, setting a lap time right now. I think this is an invalid lap for the number 28, but so far the Silvers aren't beating those times just yet. But remember, these are banker laps, and these laps will get faster as their tires get warmer and warmer, and they find more grip on this racetrack.
Oh, valid lap it seems.
Oh, that was a bad lap. Yep.
So nice to see that they are still going in, but Porsche saying a 130.5, first of the few banker laps, but already seeing the deltas on these cars. Aura's already car 406 already 5/10 improvements on their lap time, so definitely going to be the first cars to go into the sub 30s. But speaking of, we can see a lot of timing sheets in the green as well that will be in the sub 30s. But drivers are definitely saying in their banker lap, just to get in the times before they slowly push it to make sure that they can be in front of the M class, just so they don't have issues trying to fight for positions in their standings.
Yeah, as we look over to Swingley, really went hard on that chicane. You can really see the snap overs here on exit. But Swingley, one of the massive gainers with 8/10 off their current delta. And as we see the drivers put on their second lap, we will see what these true times are, because Barcho is looking way ahead, but Oraz with provisional pole. No, Barcho beating their pole position time, so it's Barcho on pole, Oraz P2, and Chip Husky right behind in third. No, Ruby wrong again. It's Wingley in P3. These times are changing a lot.
Yeah, the deltas when drivers are trying to improve as fast as possible. I think those will be the last improvements for now for the top three. But it doesn't mean that qualifying is over just yet. Definitely drivers can improve more and more, and Porcho currently a 10th improvements from their previous lap time, so they definitely can actually they just increased 2/10 improvement from the previous. Oh, it's fun.
Oh,
They didn't want to do that in the race. Oh, that's
yeah.
definitely banging the pits for them. But yeah, I was gonna say improvements are still to be had by these drivers. They definitely want to push it as much as possible to make sure they are in front of the grid as much as possible for the race. But for now, the Porsche in first, Auras in second, and Swingley taking third in the standings.
Yeah, it's better to have that spin now versus have that spin later on in the race, because that could be a race ender right there. You really have to, as I said before, you really have to be careful at that corner, because it could catch you out in several ways. You could.
Yeah, it's definitely very not the best place to get caught out, because not in the race itself, you have issues where you'll just spin out and the drivers coming in might just not have time to just save it to get out of the way, and that's gonna cause you to get T-bone, and that would not be fun in the garage to explain to your teammates or to your team in terms of what the repair bill is. So definitely not the best way to spin out, but it's a place that people need to be careful, or else that will happen, especially for the mid-rear driver cars, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis,
McLarens.
as well as the rear drivers, the McLarens, as well as the Porsche. The McLaren's a bit more stable given its longer wheelbase, but it still has the tendency to not like these curves for sure.
Yeah. Front engine cars like the Mercedes of RAF are pretty solid here in circuits like Zolder, but so far it looks like it's Ferrari on pole still. It's been Ferrari for the AM class pole. Actually, a T-Gang Ferrari on the AM class pole. Will we have a silver class T-Gang car and a overall T-Gang car on pole? Will we have T-Gang triple lockout here? That is going to be interesting to see, as the pros will come out later in 2 minutes time.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, are you surprised it's gonna be Tit Gang? By the end of the day, it's a Ferrari. The Ferraris have a very good downforce package, given that the new developments of the 296 GT3 cars. So compared to the other GT3 cars, definitely more sophisticated. But the drivers still pushing as hard as possible, and the BOP definitely will help some of the drivers here to make sure that they are on a good balanced track. But Uras beating out the Porsche, Swingley as well, both currently setting times faster than the Porsche. The Porsche definitely has to get their lap proper without spinning out to make sure that they get a good lap time or else they will be stuck behind P3, but they're already answering that as much as possible. Currently seeing the delta going up and down and up and down. They definitely have to improve on some areas, maintain their previous laps, what they did on the previous lap on some areas, or else currently they're just cracking under pressure by the fact that Auras and Swingley both are able to beat their fastest lap time as of now.
Yeah, I believe Parcho currently is on an outlap because of that spin on that chicane, and yeah, Blade looks like they're quitting qualifying for now. They're happy with their time. That sets them in P5 in the silver class. As we look over to Chip in P4, one of the challengers for pole position, currently 9 thousandths of a second down on their delta, but it's really close margins for the number 66 Lead Paw Racing Audi.
Yeah, definitely pushing it as much as possible on pace to be similar times to their previous lap time. Hopefully they don't mess up their last chicane. Definitely more curb can be taken on the first curb. I don't think drivers realize this. You can actually take the entire first curb properly, just to make sure that you don't mount onto sausage curb as much. Make sure that it goes under your car instead of over your car, and then you're able to take the second curb better, and that'll give you a very good exit for the exit. Oh, the Porsche is sending it really hard, trying to get any sort of improvements as they can. I think they're trying to crack a little bit under pressure. They have to make sure that they are relaxed, or else they will have issues getting some improvements here as the time starts ticking down. It will be their last lap here, 20 seconds remaining for the silver class qualifiers before the pros start coming out, and they are definitely pushing it, and they definitely feel the pressure because they definitely cannot improve for the time being.
I think it's Sector 3 where they're lacking, because currently they are 800ths of a second down on their delta, but I'm not sure if it's enough. They only have 2 corners to go. Can Parcho steal pole position? Going right, going left. Can Parcho beat their best? They're currently so close, but it's so close, but not quite. Unfortunately for Parcho, they have to settle for P3 as the pros roll out for their qualifying times.
Yeah, Aura is still on the flying last lap, 100th ahead of the previous lap time. They might get a 10th improvement if they can nail in the last corner, 2/10 improvement. By the time it's slowing to tick down as they got a not so good last sector. Actually, they kind of don't have it, and they will give him a 129.36. I don't think that's an improvement. They did get a better first sector, but that's it for the silver class qualifiers, and it's going to be the pros coming out on the qualifying lap.
I feel like I might have jinxed a Take Gang triple pole lockout, because Parcho had it in the bag, but here comes Oraz out of nowhere to steal that pole time. That Lamborghini having a bigger advantage compared to the Ferrari in this bumpy track. It can certainly take a bit more beating than the Ferrari, despite being a fellow mid-engine car.
Yeah, definitely able to do that for sure. But right now, pros, that's the thing about the pros you see here, definitely different procedures compared to the silvers and the AMs, all bunching up just to get slipstream as much as possible compared to the rest of the field. So right now, drivers all going out one by one. They might be a bit too close for some of the drivers, but they definitely want to be close just to get slipstream. RK actually and Danek, the first two to start running in this qualifying, and then you have the likes of Guayando, Azure, Zzors, everyone's just trying to come out on the grid in different cars as well. The Mustang, the Ferrari, the McLaren, the BMWs, all coming alive here on the racetrack at Zolders.
Yeah, a lot of different cars in the pro field. We have lots of Mustangs. We have lots of. Let me see the field. We have Mustangs, Ferraris, Lexus, Porsche, BMW. So very diverse set of cars here. As Dipping Sauce in the blue E Mustang sets a lap into Sector 1. Now, a lot of these times, again, they will be within silver times as forecasted, but as they ramp up the pace, they will continue to climb up and just see themselves topping the timesheets. Now, as mentioned before, we have our favorite in the form of RK taking the win, but Voyando and Azure might pull up a challenge if the conditions favor them in this race.
They can do that, but judging by practice results alone in and of itself, Arcade definitely has conditions basically nailed down. But Zizor is currently on 129.1. Let's see who can get it. Get a faster lap time. Arcade already in front of the 129.112 compared to 129.13. So definitely the Ferrari is still ahead of everything, but Zizor and Guando both can still definitely be faster in the current standings. Danek did 129.3. Behind Auras in these conditions, they all can definitely come into the 28th for sure. Guando setting at 129.6 behind Azure, in front of Azure for 129.657. But Azure itself definitely improving rapidly from their previous lap time, 5/10 ahead of their first qualifying lap time already. So drivers definitely are on pace to just start warming up the tires. The first lap usually has drivers pretty cold on their tires, so some of them are definitely starting to ramp up on their tire temperatures, the tire pressures, and that will give them the right grip for a better qualifying lap time.
Guayando trying to navigate the chicane as you see there, but RK putting on another banger of a lap time, but Zizor's putting more of a big lap time. Unfortunately, both RK and Zizor's lap times will count. These will be invalid laps. So it looks like it's going to be Danak who is going to set pole position as they come across the line. Nope, Danak can validate as well, so Guayando probably? I don't know. These guys are really pushing the limits of what is the lap, what is track, and what is not track, but no times changing so far between these drivers. But Guayando finding themselves in P4. A big difference in the first and second lap as Guayando finds himself back on top as Chris in the Lexus finds himself in the podium positions.
Yeah, I just want to give you a heads up on what the gap looks like. P1 to P15. Within a second of each other. So that's how close the qualifying grid is right now. And that from P15 all comes from the likes of pros, the silvers, and the AM drivers. So definitely the entire grid is extremely close this time around within the top 15, all within a second of each other. So it's definitely a very close qualifying grid, but qualifying is just a part of the story this week. If you keep it alive for the entire race, you definitely have a good run, Chris, here. Going a little bit of a rallying in the Lexus, definitely not made to rally, but definitely stable enough to not spin out, that's for sure.
It's stable, but it's not going to give them a valid lap. Chris might have washed out wide trying to get a good exit out of chicane. And Chris right now is trying to get back on their toes, try to keep themselves recomposed for another qualifying lap because that Lexus is really top speed heavy. It's really making the most out of the straight here in Zolder, whatever straight sections it does have. It's RK again beating their personal best by 6/10. That is absolute dominance once again from the golden number 25 Tig Gang car.
Yeah, Guan RK Gang at 128.3, followed by Guayando as well. A very good improvement with a 28.9, but just in time for RK to just run away further up onto the track as well. But as you can see here, Azure though usually the stronger in qualifying, currently slightly struggling in qualifying, but they are definitely a bit stronger.
Ooh, Azure. Ooh. That
A
is
little bit of
not
exploration lap, eh? Yeah, definitely having issues here, struggling in the McLaren. I think the McLaren is a little bit too stable for a track like this. You definitely want a car that will rotate nicely for the very sharp corners here, like the likes of turn 5, turn 7 with all the left, right, and lefts, turn 10 with the chicane. Those tracks, these parts of the track definitely need a very, very responsive car. And so long as you have a responsive but stable car, you can definitely get stuff going on. But for now, though, RK definitely first, Guayando second. Zizor's trying to see if he can keep up with their teammate, but no, 129.0 is the fastest time still. Guayando still the faster car between the two drivers in Cabal Racing. Currently, Chris 6/10 ahead of their current time, so that will give them ahead of actually all of them. if they're able to keep it clean. Chris currently sets the time, and that's P2 for the Lexus. So amazing drive by these drivers, though. Currently still fighting for the top 2, it seems.
Oh, Chris finds himself in the front row by 4/10, but not enough to beat that phenomenal lap time in 28.3. Not a lot of people putting up a challenge so far. RK seems to have it in the bag right now.
Yeah, it seems to be, standard broadcasting as usual. RK is still going to be so far in front that no one can beat them. But you can see here, looking at the Delta timing sheet as well, the third sector held by the fastest of Chris before 120, with a 29-second 0.4 compared to the rest. So I think the Lexus showing that the power is very useful for the third sector compared to the rest of the track. So you can see where the Lexus might have a fancy of an overtake that's definitely at turn 10 later on in this race. But the only problem is, will they able to keep the tires alive? The Lexus, notoriously fast on track, but very, very hungry for tires. And when you have a grid this narrow, it's definitely the margin of error is very narrow. So you gotta make sure that you keep it alive, because if you don't, it's gonna be grass and gravel. There's no concrete runoff here, and it's gonna affect their race quite significantly, for sure.
Azure Goat out of nowhere getting P3, and Chris on a final lap. This will be Chris's last lap. A lot of drivers' last lap. I think the queue up until Vossi, those are the last laps that we'll be having in this qualifying session. So Azure is going to be starting off our queue of final qualifying laps to see if they can make or break pole position. Azure navigating that chicane quite smoothly. Azure might have the potential to try and fight for a pole position, but at number 765, RRT McLaren has to make up a lot. One more corner, one hairpin, and all Azure has is a chicane to make or break. It's putting the power down. That V6 turbocharged engine making the most out of that straight section. Into the chicane he goes. Go left, go right. What can Azure do? It's 5/10. Unfortunately, I don't think it's enough to beat RK for pole position. It does bring him to the front row, but it's just too close. It's very close margins. It's very close margins as RK beats their personal best, and now Azure is just below Arcade by a 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun for Azure. It looks like it was gonna be good, but the exit of the last chicane definitely has caught them out a little bit. But RK also improving on their previous time definitely has caused them to be a 10th ahead of Azure, just nicely 0.1 seconds, 0.100 seconds ahead of Azure. Danak though behind in P3, rounding off the top 3 on the grid right now. But Vossi though, not slouching behind, and P4 definitely TGR strong on the grid right now as Cabal slowly falls off the grid, and as well as Gator Racing and Chris just in front of them in the Lexus as well. So definitely a very strong fight in front. All these drivers all the way to P7, all within the sub 29 seconds. So definitely gonna be a strong fight between P1 to P7. It's all about who can survive this race coming up in the hour.
Tig-Yang putting quite a dominant powerhouse in qualifying, but throughout all the classes. But again, this race it's pretty tricky to predict. While arcade dominance is in the cards, there are also Zolder. Really tight track. It's more punishing than Watkins Glen. It's going to be very interesting to see how everyone makes it out for 1 hour of this circuit.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you think Watkins Glen was unforgiving with some of the runoffs, this is going to be even worse with how bumpy the grass is, as you said here. But for now, the drivers will try to get ready, get their pits ready. Remember, you gotta change your tires here. Pit stop is mandatory. There is a pit window here. You are required to change your tires. Refueling is not really required, but most drivers will try to take half fuel just to be as light as possible on racetrack. So you gotta think about your strategy. Make sure that you try to pit as late as possible. The strategy here is like to pit as late as possible, just to make sure that you are away from traffic, though. But for now, slowly but surely, drivers will start to get ready before they go onto grid, and we'll have the grid walk as they get ready, though. But for now, uh, what do you think will be the restart, as well as the positions that will be at this time around at Zolders?
Say Vossi does have an advantage with a Porsche, and compared to the three drivers in front, both all in turbocharged Ferraris and McLarens. But Vossi in that Porsche, that Porsche has a major advantage when it comes to race start. It has all that torque, all that power being forced onto the rear axle and just giving them the utmost pace in when it comes to acceleration. So Vossi might have an upper hand on the race start, but it looks like it's going to be a tough battle between the three Tegang cars and the lone RRP car of Azure Goat.
Yeah, I think grid walk's gonna happen later this time around. Drivers are still in the garage trying to get everything sorted out before the session ticks into race start. But for now, though, it's gonna be an interesting race, as you said here. The Porsche definitely has the advantage, as you said, but you cannot discount the fact that you have the other cars as well. But the grid walk should start soon. As you can see here, all the logos are starting to show up as here as well. Pretty interesting addition to at least addition to me from my eyes, because I'm blind most of the time, so I'm not sure if I've seen it previously. But we are ready to go for the grid walk. Would you want to go for the grid walk? Which will I be the one doing the grid walk this week?
I'll let you go ahead. I have to I have to get on a short break.
Yeah, so as you go on the break, this is the grid for round 5. We have RK first on grid, followed by Azure in the RRP, followed by second Danekto, second car in TGR in third, as well as Vossi, the third car in TGR in P4. Chris in Gator Racing in the Lexus in P5. Caesars, Cabal Sim Sports in P6, followed by the teammate Guayando in P7. Oras in the first Lamborghini at P8. Swingley, though, the first Garage 482 Aston Martin in P9, followed by Laporcho, the Ferrari in P10 for T-Gang Racing. Taichi staying here at P11 in the Ferrari as well, followed by Dip in the second Mustang in P12 for Blue E Racing. For our LPR driver here, Chip Husky in the Audi, followed by Blade Wolf in the Aston Martin for RRP. Kvyat in Escargot in Aston Martin as well in P15, followed by Saber in P16 in the Ford Mustang. Fluffy, the the pole AM driver currently for TGR in P17. Juan Vida, close behind in P18. I say Fluffy in P17, yes. Dirk, the Blue E driver current for F4M class, is in P19, followed by Raf in the Mercedes in P20. P21 will see us seeing Wolfin in the BMW M4. Not the most popular car here, but definitely still going strong here. 22 will be Phaser in Cabal Sim Sports in the Lamborghini, followed by Skylar in the Porsche in P23. JPEG, our New Zealander here in P24 in Aston Martin, followed by Quest in the Bentley in P25. And the last driver on the grid will be Page at P26, and that will be the drivers here at round 5. 26 cars on the grid. It's going to be a very, very busy track for sure, but drivers will need to make sure they get their strategies ready, get their pit stops ready, get their tire change, get the pressures of the tires properly before they get on the grid. It should be close
Yep.
to formation lap, but for now, though, drivers need to make sure. 20 seconds remaining as the driver starts to announce. It should be a very fun warm-up session for these drivers.
While we don't have as much turnout as usual, it is still 26 cars on a very, very tight circuit, so only one can imagine how things will go into turns 1 and 2. But as you see here, the whole grid is a gang sandwich with RK in the front and Page in the back as they start to roll out for their formation lap, get those brakes warm, get those tires warm, make sure everything is up to temperature for when they get ready for the race.
For sure. Right now, drivers will try to hold their brakes. Some of the drivers will try to weave a little bit, but given the strategy here in ACC, weaving is not the most ideal. Usually you will want to have a gentle weave just to get some tire temperature in, but if you scrub the tires too much, it's definitely not ideal for the race start as well as for the race in general. You definitely do not want to green your tires here in in the race start. But Fluffy here though, I think having a stall start, trying to catch back into position. Hopefully, luckily they are not set back into the pits, but drivers are getting ready to warm up their tires. ACC though has the ability to not have collision in the warm up, so some drivers are a little bit ahead of the delta, just so they don't have to catch up later strongly at race start because of how the restart procedures are. Currently, the drivers you see here weaving down the back straight for turn 5. Some of the drivers are, some of the drivers just holding on to their brakes. As you can see here, that's the separation between some of the drivers here as they prepare for their warm-up routine, and it will be a very, 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 very anticipated start for round 5 coming up.
As the drivers head close up into the chicane, into the final sector, RK right now has a major advantage, but keep in mind, the top 3 are all turbocharged cars that aren't really good at starts. The McLaren might be decent at a race start, but that Porsche could pounce out of nowhere. So don't put Vossi out of the equation. They could be a potential battler at this race start.
Oh, you say that, but if you know how to brake boost here, you can definitely learn how to start the race well, so long as you're confident in holding down your brakes as hard as possible. But you can't do that too long though. Turn 1 requires you to be pretty strong on the brakes. If you overheat your tires on the race start, you definitely cannot brake in time for turn 1. So you definitely need to be a little bit careful. So drivers need to think about it as they go double file for the race start. The RK in the on the beneficial line for the restart for the inside of turn 1, but they will be on the marbles, so definitely gonna be picking up some dirt, and that's not gonna be good for them for the restart. But they will have the inside lines up to Azure to see if they can take it on the outside. But it's gonna be a race start here, ready for round 5.
As the drivers head too wide into the main straight, we are waiting for the green flag to wave.
Come on, come on, come on. No, green.
And we're underway. Green light here in Zolder. Azure with a great start, trying to wrap around the outside of turn 1, squeezing RK, but RK has the inside, but through goes.
Oh no!
There's contact between Azure. There's contact with RK, and through goes Tenak, taking the lead of the race. That is Azure goes out in turn 1.
Yeah, definitely having a lot of damage, but you can definitely still recover from this. That's gonna be favorable for Azure, but you just gotta keep on going at it right now. Unfortunately for them, luckily though, not much of a big pile up. We thought that was gonna be a very, very big pile up. Danik on it, able to make sure that everyone stays alive. Unfortunately for RK as well as Azure though, it's gonna be a very long fight for them. Currently though, who was that in front? I think that's Vossi in first place. You predicted it. I think they just got able to call everything though. Danik I think has a little bit of an issue, but that's gonna be Chris and Vossi trying to run away compared to Z-Flores as well as Guayano just right behind them. Could have to go by Crystal. Who is that driver out into the grid? That's gonna be Swingly. That's Oraz. Unfortunately, he's trying to recover as much as possible. In the pack though, Swingly though has already run away with the gang. But right now, Dip trying to get past Swingly just for the overall positions, I think. But that's gonna see how things go. I think that's I think that's Blade trying to get an overtake on. That's not gonna be. Oh, very strong fight behind them. That's trying to go away. Oh, what is that? I don't see it.
There was a lot of argy-bargy in the hairpin. A lot of drivers going door to door, bumper to bumper. It's a really tight circuit, and this concertina effect is catching a lot of people out of guard. But
yeah,
it's Vossi finding themselves in the lead of the race after a dramatic turn 1 incident between Azure and RK. They both tried to fight each other to turn 1, but it did not end well for them.
Yeah, it definitely is a very narrow track, and there's only one line here, so drivers definitely have to sort themselves out before they figure out where they want to go. And you can see here as well, some of the drivers having a lot of damage. RS here, not RS, Chip here, the rear bumper having definitely a lot of scuff marks, so definitely a little bit affected on their downforce. Hopefully not too much, but they definitely have to move on as they keep fighting for position here. As you see here, drivers just mounting curbs left and right to make sure that they are able to go through all this. Hopefully no issues by all the drivers. Definitely some of the drivers have fallen back, but definitely nice to see that drivers are trying to settle down within a second of each other. It's all about trying to figure out who will crack under pressure, and how you're gonna pressure them to make sure that they, force a mistake out of each other for sure.
RK and P3 trying to get into the slipstream with Chris, trying to make up for lost ground because they're not as far down as Azure was, but RK definitely has to make up a lot of ground. I just know for sure that Chris is going to be really relentless. They will make that Lexus as wide as it can be, as Bossy continuing to increase the gap on Chris.
Yeah, it's definitely a gap that Vossi is very comfortable increasing for now. The Lexus definitely not as strong on race pace, given they are sliding a little bit. They definitely need to take a couple of laps to get out the temperature. RK though, trying to make sure they put the pressure on as fast as possible just to get the position back from them. Currently though, as you see here, the mid pack still fighting pretty strong here. Juan V getting hounded by Azure. Azure will definitely want the overtake happen as soon as possible, but with the damage McLaren, how long would that be? And I think unfortunately for them, it's going to be behind them for a little while before things happen, but definitely want to make it happen as soon as possible. You can see here the braking itself already faster by Juan V by a little bit, but definitely in the way of their vision, so definitely have to think about where to brake a little bit differently from the rest. I think Azure though, luckily no blinking lights from what I see here. That might change if they get more damage, but for now they're definitely on path to make sure that they stay alive and just slowly chip away at these positions.
Azure a little more patient, but I do want to mention Juan V, who is a long way ahead of third, so they are under pressure right now from the silver drivers. I don't think this is Juan V's fight. They know that, and they want. And if these pros and silvers give them a tough time, I think Juan V has the luxury of just letting them go because they have a lot of cars between them and third right now. Juan V
Ooh.
right now, they're in the middle of trouble city.
Yeah, RK just said fastest line off the track, but I was saying, when you were saying about Juan V, I just realized, so Fluffy falling pretty far behind at P20 right now, P4 in M class, so definitely the pole sitter of M class has definitely had issues, and that has caused Juan V to just get just run away amongst all of them. Azure though,
Oh,
I saw Saber just got past all of them. Definitely nice to see. Juan V has fallen behind, just to let them by. It's definitely not their race to go by, but currently RK still fighting strong with Chris.
I thought we were about to see a dive into the chicane. I was bracing for impact, but RK knowing to save it for later because two don't go into one in there. But RK trying to find as much overtaking positions as possible, but it has to be clean. It has to be it has to be somewhere that it won't compromise the both of them because Vossi is really putting up a lot of time. Chris is running, but not as fast as Vossi, and RK is really hounding on the rear end.
Oh, the braking difference though compared to the two of them, they definitely touched there. But RK, I think getting caught out by the lack of braking that you get from the very, very heavy Lexus. They really, I think they're starting to figure out that you can win them on the braking marker. Now the only problem is how do you get by the Lexus just to be able to outbrake them? That's not gonna happen. Definitely RK has to think about either they sending it really hard on the brakes, or they definitely have to outsmart Chris, which is usually not the case. Chris, from what we've seen from previous races, pretty strong in terms of getting affected by, not really phased, but getting pressured by most drivers. But you can see a good run
I think
by the
RK
Ferrari.
run, but unfortunately
No.
RK is going for it.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. I thought
Thinks better
RK
of
was
it.
going for it.
I think,
Oh yeah.
to be fair, I think if RK has done it, I don't think Chris is gonna turn in on them, but it definitely will not be a good fight between the two of them. But Chris will definitely keep on the position as much as possible. But RK has to thought about, short-term gains versus long-term gains. They definitely have to make the dive as soon as possible, just so they can catch up with the teammates, or else they can get held up here forever and ever.
Now RK does have the braking and aerodynamic grip advantage, but Chris with the power off the line as well as the top speed, and I believe that they have the advantage of the narrow Zolder circuits. So RK really having a tough time right now, despite being the faster car, just because Zolder is a narrow track where it's tricky to overtake.
Yeah, definitely a very tricky track to overtake for sure. Chris, though, saying the fastest time right now with 128.5. So definitely a lot of fast cars here. Looking at the speed trap, you think that the Lexus will get the
Partial
fastest
going down
lap.
the inside of dipping sauce. Is that
That's
going to
not
move
gonna
on?
happen. There's gonna be a
It's
touch.
and that's Partial spinning. That is not a fight that Partial wanted, because that was pro on silver. That's just going to cost them in the silver class. As you see, the silver drivers come up against them, and now Partial has dropped positions in the silver class.
Yeah, definitely not the best way to overtake someone for sure, but unfortunately, luckily for them, not much affected by their grid. They definitely can still recover from this, just slowly climbing back up after this. So definitely unfortunate for them, but you know, gotta keep your head down and slowly just fight away. As you see here, Aura is just right behind them though. They definitely have lost positions, but it's not out of the pack just yet.
As the drivers cascade around that chicane. Really satisfying seeing those cars snake around that chicane from that camera angle. But Blade Wolf, might I point out, is being the massive cork in the bottle in this field. You can see that is, I believe that is Chip, and now Azure pounding on the rear end. Now Blade Wolf is definitely not going to give up a position to a fellow Silver Class driver, Chip. Now Blade Wolf, again, as we said before, as we said previously, really great at defending. So Blade Wolf really the massive cork in the bottle in their battle with Chip, and that's just going to lead to a knock-on effect to the other drivers who have to suffer and try and get past Blade as much as Chip wants to.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a thing.
Oh, man.
Azure, though, going for an overtake on Chip. That is going to be I think it's going to be easy overtake for them. Chip might not want to fight for this position, but they're still side by side to this corner for some reason at turn 3 and turn 4. Where will this end? With Chip into the gravel, apparently.
It's Azure giving him all the elbows, and that's just going to drop Chip down and down, and that is Chip running into Saber. That's Saber into the wall. That is just unfortunate. Really a lot of argy-bargy action, but Saber, the massive compromise in this whole situation.
Yeah, definitely not ideal currently with a very damaged front end. I'm not sure if that's gonna be a problem for them. They definitely have to come in for repairs with how damaged the front is. But
yeah, look at the front
or
end.
they could hold up for the next 10 minutes, but I think it's more about figure out who is gonna do it.
Yeah, the damage really causing Saber right now. They are really not putting on the pace. Dirk is rushing in as well. Everyone is hounding onto the Mustang. That is very vulnerable right now from its front end damage. They definitely need to pit. I'm not sure if now is the time, because they're staying out.
I think that'll be the better idea. You know, you don't want to go through the pit lane twice, especially the fact that I think Saber knows as well they're not really fighting for positions in the standings. In the class standings, they're just still going to be fighting positions for the overall standings. So they might just think about, you know what, let's just, you know, we're not that far in front of the grid anyways. You know, just keep it alive for the next 10 minutes, pit in, repair for like a couple of minutes, and then fight for it. You know, at least by then, at least you don't have to pit in twice compared to pitting in once. So I think for them, that will be the strategy for them, but that's going to keep losing them time, though, especially here. Dirk trying to get overtake on Saber. Yep. Definitely possible with the lack of downforce. Lack of front end.
Saber not giving it quite so easily to Dirk, but Dirk got past regardless. That was a pretty nice move down the inside, but that is a really crippled Mustang. That is just not having a good time right now. Almost running into the rear end of Dirk. So Saber definitely has to pit at some point, because that Mustang just can't hold on anymore. And oh, there's contact! There's contact between RK and my cameras. That is Chris off. RK and Chris had a tagging together. If we do have a replay, I do want to bring this up, because I saw that on my cameras. RK trying to get the over-under and just running into Chris.
Yeah, I have to try to take a look. Unfortunately for them, though, oh,
Oh,
that's the
that's
wrong
Marshall.
car. Definitely
That's the
having an
wrong
issue. We'll
car.
try to take a look at it in the sec. That's gonna be an overtake by Leparcho. That's Leparcho as well as Chip. Definitely in charge. Having issues. We'll take a look at the replay just then for them. Chris still on track though. I think Chris just gave up, unfortunately, in the track. Definitely not the best place to park that car. They definitely have to put it back into the pit lane for sure. Let's see what has happened. Hopefully not much of an issue. Let's see here. Is this right car?
We're having a
No,
bit
that
of
is
trouble.
Quayando. Oh,
Oh
oh no,
wait,
there's
nope.
there's the two of
This
them.
is the replay.
Let's see what has happened between the two of them.
So RK tried to go for the over/under and
Oh
just the
no.
overspeed, just running into Chris. That's just
Uh,
unfortunate. Chris is still on the chicane right now. I wonder
Yeah.
what's happening. I don't know if they're returning to pits or not. This might be a calling. Yep, Chris has returned to the garage, and it looks like it's done and dusted for them.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, RK though, definitely cracking a little bit under pressure. I feel like from Chris, definitely not the best place to have an issue. Definitely, as you can see here, not much to run away from when you have an issue. So it's gonna be an unfortunate park incident between the two of them. Definitely have to sort it out after the race. But for now though, RK is gonna try to put it behind them and slowly fight for P1. As Zizor sees that, they have to keep it close though, because that might be a reportable offense. And when that happens though, Zizor might try to get the position in front of them. So definitely want to keep it as close as possible to get any sort of results. But right now, for the rest of them though, Dip getting strongly hounded by Danak right behind them. Needs to keep the Mustang in front of them, or else Danak's just gonna take the position away from them for P6.
RK not making a lot of friends on the grid. First it was with Azure, but now it's with Chris. Unfortunately, that is going to be, if the stewards look into it, that's not going to be giving them any benefit when it comes to overall position, because they do have to keep into account that they have the potential to acquire some driver points for those driver warning points for these incidents, and that'll just drop them down the order. As Dipping Sauce trying to make that blue E Mustang as wide as it can. Danak trying to find as much space as possible, but it's not enough. Dipping Sauce making that Mustang a cork in a bottle for both him and the other Tay Gang car of Taichi.
Yeah, definitely pulling on the two TGR cars behind them, but for how long though? The Mustang can be annoying for the Ferraris to overtake, but as well as the fact that Dip is a pretty strong defender, so definitely not gonna be easy for the two TGR Ferraris behind them. But I know for a fact Taichi and Danak both will have it their way, one way or the other, respectfully though, not to make sure that they get an overtake happen, or else they're just gonna stuck behind P7 and P8, and that's not a position they want to be in for the race itself for sure.
Now, Dipping Sauce has Swingley. I believe that is Swingley head. That is a silver class driver. What is the Polar Bear doing in Arlington, Texas? Swingley is that high up in the order and has the silver class lead. Out of nowhere, just silently taking advantage of all the silver class chaos and finding himself in P5.
And wiping the wipers as well, as you see here, the wipers activating.
Hold on.
Definitely having issues with the car's electronics for sure, but as you see here, they can't hold it on for long though. As you can see here, the Mustang already catching up as soon as possible. If able to get the stats here for the last lap time though, Swingley did a 1:29.8 last lap, Dipping though a 1:29.9. So definitely not being held up by the Aston Martin, but they're both similarly in place. So Dip either has to think about it or has to defend pretty hard. And I think for them though, with Swingley in front of them, they're gonna like the fact that there is Swingley in front of them, because the two cars behind them though are basically faster than them by a very long shot.
And RK right now setting the fastest lap as Swingley continues to hold up the rest of the order now. Dip has gone a bit wide. This is an opportunity for Danak wrapping around the outside. Will they make it the inside? No, they still wrap around the outside. Danak defending. Dipping Sauce defending like crazy. That Mustang is really finding all the right places to block off the number 54 Ferrari's overtaking efforts.
It's one thing about the Mustang that's good is that when you kind of lose it, you have a very good suspension to just hold it a little bit and just lean into the defending positions. And what I think Dit knows this, and just even though they run a little bit wide, they know that they could just plant it right there, and the Ferrari can't do much about it with how heavy the Mustang is. And for now, definitely getting held up by the Mustang of Blue E. But as you hear, Taichi and Danek, they have to sort themselves out between their own teammates to make sure that who has the better run here. If Taichi will just take an overtake on Danek just to get an overtake maybe, or will Taichi just hang back and let Danek do the work and maybe cause an incident? Maybe, who knows? It is racing after all. Things might happen. Definitely not with
Oh my
intentions.
goodness.
Oh, switch back. Oh, that's not happening though. The Mustang parked it just right.
Dipping Sauce pulling out a masterclass of defense on Denak. Denak putting a lot of pressure on that Mustang. That is just impressive work from Dipping Sauce as Denak tries to find and tries to make Dip crack under pressure. They might have caught them by surprise at the final chicane, but still Dipping Sauce ahead. Denak looking to turn one. That is their opportunity again because that Ferrari has an advantage when it comes to aerodynamic grip, but still Dipping Sauce in that Mustang holding him up like crazy. That was a slide tap. That is oversteer from Dipping Sauce as Taichi closes in once again. This battle is really spicing up, but it's still got 40 minutes to go. There's not much time to risk. Look at the margins. They are so close to each other. How do they do this?
Yeah, definitely not the best place to be in, the two drivers. I think Danak needs to realize that they are better through corners, so they definitely have to be a little bit far back from the Mustang in front of them just to get any sort of improvements in terms of an overrun.
Taichi.
Oh
no,
my god.
That is contact on the chicane. That is Taichi. They're going RT party on the chicane. My goodness.
And the two drivers not giving up positions here, but they can't just do that. The track cut limits are a thing. They can't do too much of it, or also get too much track cut warnings. That's not gonna be fun.
Taichi and Azure being relentless on each other. They were beating and banging down the chicane. That is just really on the limit for these guys.
Yeah, definitely no respect between the two. Forcing it through. That's not gonna happen, Azure. You can't just do that. Or Taichi losing it though. Definitely not ideal between the two of them. They definitely will not be happy between the two of them. This is not gonna be a good fight, is it now? But for them side by side coming into T1, will that stick though? Taichi has the inside line. Azure has to cut back. Will that happen? Nope, not happening for sure. Oh, that's the overrun breaking though.
Azure wrapping around the outside, but it's not quite as Taichi pulls out into the front of that McLaren, but pit window has opened, so any of these drivers can duck into the pit lane and pit for fresh tires and fuel, and probably go for the under or overcut as Azure continuing to put the challenge on Taichi, wrapping around the outside, going for the over-under. That is just really close margins. They are really fighting hard, but all of this battling has just summoned Parcho. Parcho is now in the mix of this battle because it's now these three that have to fight it out. Originally it was two, but with the continuous argy-bargy of Taichi, that just reels Parcho in. But Taichi, being the massive cork in the bottle, being relentless with their defensive driving, just holding and keeping that number 765 McLaren at bay.
Yeah, and you can see here Danak already running away. Oh, the big side of Danak. Oh, side by side, what has happened? It's actually Danak in the pits? I'm not sure. I think Danak is in the pits. Azure is also in the pits. They realize that you might as well just pit it in. Some of them have repairs they gotta take care of as well. But the only problem with pitting in this early, that drivers need to remember that you have basically traffic. You have blue flags that might come up. You have the fact that you have to fight with M class. It might not be the most ideal strategy to be in, but when you're so strongly fighting against your teammates or your drivers and your competitors, you really have to think about it. Sometimes it's just worth it, just pin early. You know what? I'll just mess around with the traffic, whatever, and just get it done, or else you might have a problem fighting for positions. It might be deadly for you as well if you just keep having issues like this. So it's good to see some drivers just say, you know what? Get in the track. You'll get it sorted out later.
As we see Bossy versus Arcade, this is the battle for the overall lead. It's Tig Gang on Tig Gang. I'm not sure if they're team orders or not, but it looks like Bossy is holding off holding off Arcade, so it looks like there's no team orders in place. These are all for honors. They are fighting it out. As long as both cars come home, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think I've heard that TGR does not have a team order policy, so they're definitely holding strong to make sure that they are holding. They make sure they both stay alive for the team, but as well as they just are there just for their own points. Vossi though might think a little bit better of it. They might defend, but they won't be defending too nil like what Taichi and Azure have been doing though. So that's gonna be all about how RK can just maybe have an inside line, and that will definitely be a thing for them. Taichi though answering to Azure's pit lane. Pit earlier, currently going for a pit stop. I'm not sure if that's a good strategy call though. They definitely were held up by the fact that they had to defend Azure, but if they pit in now, I'm not sure what will happen. They will still be continue fighting for that position. But do you really want to defend for that position, or you prefer to just keep running in front? I would have suggested just keep running in front. You might lose the position to Azure, but overall, if you keep defending, you're gonna lose a bunch of time.
I would go out as well, especially because it's just 36 remaining. I would preferably go out as long as I can on the first set of tires, so that I have the luxury of pushing as hard as I can without worrying about the tire wear for my second stint. But Taichi going for the direct overcut, trying to fight Azure's undercut instead of going much longer. So it's going to be interesting to see how this strategy folds for the white Taegang car.
And here lies the problem with pitting early. Azure right now at the back, in front of both RK and Vossi in blue flags. That is the problem. Right now, Azure has the luxury of running away because they know they're fast. But if you're not a fast driver, this is the problem, because right now you're a lap behind and you either have to concede with the blue flag, or you have to just you have to run away from it. And it's really, if you're not a driver that is fast enough, you're gonna have a problem here because of the fact that you just either have to let blue flags go, that's gonna slow you down, or you just have to push so hard that you're basically burning up the tires for the last stint.
By the way, Azure did get in front of Taichi, so Azure making that undercut work, and now all they have to do is just run ahead of Taichi, because Taichi was the real cork in the bottle for Azure, but now they have a much bigger chance to get at, I believe Danak was the next car in position.
You know what's the best part about this strategy between Vossi and Azure in the blue flags? If Azure is indeed faster than Vossi, matching race pace, I need to check the timing later, Vossi can just use Azure as a slipstream to just get ahead of RK, just because you get slipstream down into the straights as the Porsche needs it. And you know, just they don't need to worry about Azure, because you know that Azure's not gonna be so in the way. But it seems like Azure does have some aero damage, given that they are basically on pace with Vossi right now. That's gonna be a problem for Vossi. Either they have to concede for blue flags, or Vossi has to pit in early just to cover up RK. I think those will need to be negotiated between the two drivers. But RK though, out of the pit lane, definitely strong, trying to get as much run as possible with the fresh air that they get.
There is Parcho coming out of the pit lane ahead, just behind the two Taegang and RRP car, and just ahead of Taichi. So there's going to be a lot of traffic merging into one another as Parcho finds himself ahead of Taichi, their teammate.
Yeah, this is gonna be we'll see how things go. It's gonna be interesting to see how this thing sorts out. But I just got news about what happened to Chris. Apparently, a hardware failure. That wheel a wheel shut down and completely, and just didn't reconnect to ACC after that. So unfortunately for them, a hardware failure caused an incident. So I don't think RK might have a thing to report. We're not sure. But for now though, if we're focusing on the race, RK strong on P13, trying to climb as much positions as possible. But we still have 3 minutes before the halfway mark of this race, and that's when people start to really come in for the pits. Right now though, you have the likes of Blue E, I think that's Wolfen, as well as the fact that Chip, actually no, Blade, Blue E, Dirk, Blade, as well as Chip, 3 of the cars are in pits for the pit stops. And I think soon there will be going to be more cars coming in for the pits.
It's 33 minutes to go, so there will be more and more drivers opting to pit at the halfway mark, or be bold and go as long as they can. As we look over to Fluffy, who was gone wide, just recently rejoining, so not much to say, but Fluffy rejoining safely. I wonder what happened here as Fluffy. I think they might have clipped one of the curbs. They might have gone and washed out a bit too wide. Let's see.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Yeah,
Oh.
too much
Oh.
speed into the chicane and just heading into the barriers. Thankfully, rejoining ahead of clean air. Thankfully, there was no traffic anywhere near Fluffy. As Fluffy, I believe that is the pit lane. Yeah, Fluffy comes into pit lane.
Yeah, that's gonna be annoying for them, losing a little bit of time, but it'll be alright. It shouldn't be a problem for them. They should be able to get back up though. Goyando, they are silently in P3 right now, as well as Zors. Both drivers have not pitted for their pit stops, as well as Vossi as well. Currently P1, 2, 3, not pitted. Swingly in P4 as well. Only a few cars have pitted, so it's all trying to slowly get their paces out. But I think Zors might think about going into the pits, given that they are currently behind Taichi. That might be the better idea for them, but that's going to be up to their strategy call to make sure that will happen. But for now, where do they go? They're still behind Taichi, and that's going to be a problem for them. I think the better option will definitely be pitting, but that's going to be happening maybe in a lap or two. We will see, as the Departure here in P13, still slowly chipping at it at their positions right now for a silver class podium. Oh.
We have Blade Wolf on the inside of Taichi making the move done. Can they get the move done? Yes, he can. Blade Wolf ahead of Taichi. That was a bold move from the Aston Martin to get into the inside of that Tegang Ferrari. That number 324 white colored Tegang Ferrari.
Definitely didn't defend as hard as with Azure though, for sure. That's a definitely bad blood between the two of them. But definitely compared to the Blade, definitely solid move. But I think Taichi has a better run here, as squeezing him as much as possible. Though, what will Taichi give it a dive? That is possible. Taichi not giving it a dive. Oh, I feel like if that's Azure, they definitely dove really hard on the collision there.
Blade Wolf and Taichi really going at it, but albeit a bit more respectfully than that battle between Taichi and Azure, because that battle, that was argy bargy. This is pretty clean compared to beforehand.
To be fair, we didn't see what happened initially. It might have been Azure being annoyed, Taichi being annoyed at the fact that Azure just sent it hard on turn 1, and that's going to be a response to what has happened. But for now, though, pretty respectful. Oh, Zizor's in the pits. Oh, that was scary for a bit. The pit lane here at Zolder's really scares you because you think they're going off, but in reality they're just coming in for the pit stop. And for now, the Zizor's going to be the first to be in the pits, as well as the teammate Guando, both drivers. Yeah, both drivers in the pit lane. So hopefully, good run between the two of them. Nice to see that drivers are going really well. The two drivers still fighting really hard for position. And as you see here, usually when you fight with Blade, Blade's going to be the strong one here. Really strong on defending. They definitely know how to squeeze the drivers. And definitely a really nice defense. But Taichi, though, will they give it a send? They will try to, but...
My goodness. That was so close. That Taichi almost ran into the rear end of Blade Wolf. But Blade Wolf making that Aston Martin as wide as possible. That is his mastercraft. That is his specialty. Just defending and holding up the other drivers and making them a bit frustrated trying to get past him.
No, but here's the one thing though. If you're fighting with Blade, that's one thing that you have. It's trust, because you know for a fact Blade ain't gonna do something weird, and that's why you get so close margins. It's because of the fact that when you fight with Blade, you get to trust them with how close you can get with them, and I think that's the best part about fighting. And Taichi just gave up on it, just sends it really hard. Will the switchback happen though? No.
My
and
goodness!
Taichi, a very strong send from the Ferrari. But that has definitely made the move stuck. I think they thought better of defending for that position, given that they're on a different class. Might as well just let them by for position. They're still P3 in silver class anyways with that position taken away. So they definitely want to make sure that they stick behind Taichi. Maybe a good toe between the two of them, just to get away from Oras, which is currently P15. That's in front. That is behind them. No, Oras though. Oh no, Oras is still close behind.
Yeah,
Wolf in the pits.
Taichi just licked the stamp and sent it. I think Wolfin is on a scheduled pit stop.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, they have yet to pit. I'm not sure. I haven't kept track of who is on the pit road, but yeah, it looks like this is a scheduled pit stop for Wolfin. Thankfully, as we look over to Quest, who is a bit longer back behind. And it looks like for now, it's Dipping Sauce in the lead because Dipping Sauce going long. So is Juan V. That is Dip and Juan V finding themselves in the top 2 for staying out for that long. I wondered that strategy will pay off for them.
Well, we'll see how it pays off. We'll have to see how things go, though. Currently, if we're looking at the standings, actually, how many drivers are remaining? There's like 23 drivers are remaining on this grid. Did we have 23 or 26? I kind of lost track. But for now, the drivers are still going strong right here. RK, though, currently, if we look at this, the charts, will be the first driver to get pole once the 2 in front have pitted definitely faster than Fossey by a long shot, it seems. So RK definitely has the better strategy of just pitting early, and that definitely has left Fossey pretty far behind in the grid. Quest in the pits right now, the third last driver to be in the pit lane, and it's gonna be up to Dip and Juan V to think, when is their best time to pit for their pit strategy.
Yeah, 1v still electing to stay out, so is Dipping Sauce. So very bold strategy to just try and push really hard on the final stint, but again, 1v knows that 1v has dived into the pit lane. They are resorting to their pit stop. This is going to be very important for their challenge for the AM class lead. Will anyone take this lead from 1v, or is 1v safe and sound in the lead?
Or will Juan V take the lead from themselves? They are pretty far in front, but if you do get yourself a stop go, get yourself a track cut, or you spin yourself out, it's not going to be good for you. I think some drivers might be on the very thin edge given how much they cut certain corners when they're fighting. So that might be a warning for them to not cut too much, or else we're going to see a drive-through happening for some of the drivers. But for now, they're pretty strong driving for all of them. Currently, Dip the last of all of them to pit for sure.
As we look over to RK, who has the net lead of the race, cause as soon as Dipping Sauce comes in, that'll be RK in the lead. But RK, again, this is RK dominance once again. The dust has settled. It looks like it's RK so far if things go right.
Well, we'll have to see. It is possible, but we'll see how things go. Currently, though, with how things have sort of started to settle, Tai Chi, though, behind the Porsche 810s, but Chip right behind Kvyat, currently in P14, still slowly trying to chip away from all of this. Didn't expect a pun from chip away from the grid, but Juan V rejoining. Where do they rejoin? They rejoin in front of Dip. That is interesting to position to be in. Dip though need to have an overtake on Juan V. Going out wide.
That almost did not go well, but I do want to point out Juan V coming up on colder tires, so Dirk has a mild advantage over Juan V. So this battle is on for the AM class lead.
Yeah, for sure. But Juan V just needs to make sure they stay alive. It's I think they might have wanted to be behind in front of Dip, but good to see that now they have Dip basically in front of them. They can just focus on driving itself, but Dirt will definitely be hyper focused on making sure they stay as close to Juan V as possible. Hopefully not to the detriment of being too target focused. That has always happened when you're early on in your racing career. Derek though trying to just juke out Juan V, and that has definitely worked. Make them not take the optimum line. Juan V definitely has to think about maybe not getting too distracted by the car behind and just focus on driving itself. If they focus on a good lap, that will be a good run for them. But if they don't, it's going to be a problem. Dip in the pits, the last driver being in the pit, it's going to be a clear fight for Juan V and Dirk currently for the AM class still coming in, as you see here past the pit lane.
Dirk right behind the slipstream of Juan V.
Look at
Definitely
it.
inside the turn one. No, there's contact.
Oh no.
No. Yeah,
Recovery
thankfully,
for
I think Dirk might be letting Juan V by. They're slowing down. Yeah, they know that this move isn't theirs. So, yeah, unfortunate for Dirk, but thankfully, at least Dirk, you can see the position and is going for another fight.
Yeah, we'll have to try that again in a little bit. But for now, though, they'll have to regain the tire temperatures. Unfortunately for them, the Dirk will have the better run between all of them. RK currently coming out into lap traffic. Quest will be the first lap traffic, I think. Oh, it's not be the first, but it'll be one of the lap traffics coming in, especially the turn 2 hole. the Bentley though not giving out too much of their lost time. Definitely right behind RK. RK just speeding away in the Ferrari, away from all the chaos that is currently happening on the grid.
Looking at the battle for the AM class lead right now, Dirk right now trying to make up for lost position, not lost position, but lost time trying to get past 1V with an incident and having to let them go because of that incident. Now Dirk hounding on the rear end, that damage looking like it's costing them quite a bit. That Ferrari not having a good time. It is a very aerodynamic dependent car, and that tap on the front end is just not helping any favors at all.
But it's still strong on the brakes, as you see here. They're still closing in on Juan V. But a little bit of an update. Dip with the late pit in has affected their standings through all of this. They are unable to be in front of Danak and unfortunately currently in P8. But they're still behind. They're still in front of Taichi. Not sure what happened between Taichi. Definitely, maybe I lost a little bit of time fighting with Blade. But right now, Taichi sandwiched between the silvers, between Lepartre and Blade right in front. So definitely something to look out for in the future. But right now, fighting between Juan V and Dirk, pretty close. Dirk still getting a lot faster than Juan V. We're unable to see a representative line time given the incident that happened previously, but we'll have to see coming down into the chicane as well as later on at the final, at the start finish straight to see who has the better lap time. For now though, I got a feeling it's Dirk.
Yeah, Dirk is very quick and very aggressive on the brakes. 1B braking a bit early and resorting to trying to make that Porsche as wide as it can be, because Dirk is much faster in terms of pace than 1V by the looks of things. Now, it's just a matter of making that car as wide as it can, because that is your last resort when that car behind you is much quicker in terms of pace.
Oh, you can say that as well, but I think for a moment, I think Juan V might be running out of track cut limits. That's why you gotta be a little bit more conservative. It might be just their driving style as well harness it to be a bit more consistent. They definitely don't want to push the Porsche too much, or else you'll end up in the wall. But right now, though, Dirk might be a bit too target focused on Juan V. Maybe braking as Juan V brakes might be beneficial for them, given that you have more headroom as a M driver with your lap times, but you can't rely on that too much, or else you overbrake yourself, and that has caused the incident happen earlier. But lap time wise, Juan V with 130.8, Dirk with a 131.0. So Juan V still has the better edge. I think currently as pace has stabilized, Dirk though trying to hold on as much as possible to the slipstream. That really depends on how they navigate through the remaining lap, sections of the lap to make sure that they can stay within the slipstream, or else they will lose out pretty quick.
Now, pit window has finally closed, so I believe everyone has made their mandatory pit stop, and Dipping Sauce is the last one to have done that. So, all things considered, I think everyone's done a decent job so far when it comes to their pit stops. We did see a lot of pit stop battles, especially between Taichi and Azure and the others as well. But so far everything went smoothly when it came to the pit stop transition.
Yeah, definitely everything has went as smoothly as possible. They're trying to duke out not Zsource, Juan V, but I think Juan V has learned to just ignore Dirk in the background, or else you get too much caught up to it. But they're improving pretty much in the last sector. I think the Ferrari better on the last sector compared to the Porsche, but the Porsche seems strong on the first sector, as you can see here. The gap increases in the first sector, but loses out on the last sector. So definitely Juan V might need to realize that that is a possibility and just pace themselves to just not be too worried about the car behind, or else they're gonna get too caught up. Currently, the Juan V doing a 130.2, Dirk with a 130.3. Both drivers basically doing exchanging blows in terms of the lap times here and there.
Yeah, they're trying their best to tuck into the slipstream of 1V, but 1V, now that their tires are warmer, and now that their car is up to temp, they have the luxury of using their fresher set of tires. Remember, 1V stayed out longer than Dirk when it came to their first stints, so in terms of the second stint, 1V's tires are much fresher compared to Dirk, who pit in early.
Yeah, and Juan V, you can see here Dirk pushing a little bit too hard. I got a feeling it might be also the fact that Dirk might be losing a little bit of pressure from cutting too much on these corners. We did see that Dirk tends to go over a lot of these curves and a lot of these grass patch sections. That will definitely be not beneficial in terms of tire pressure, and tire pressure is everything here in ACC. So you gotta make sure you keep it within the window. But for now though, you can see here, not the best exit, and that has definitely compromised their time coming down into turn 1. You can see here, they definitely can make it happen, but they're definitely having a lot of mistakes trying to keep up with. Too much on the
That
inside
is a
curve.
mistake that is a mistake that Dirk did not need. Turn 1, just that car just went unstable and just she tried to catch the save, but thankfully it's not a spin. It's only going wide, but it looks like it's 1B out for the win. 1B looking solid out there. I don't think Dirk has the pace tonight to just beat 1B, because 1B has fresher tires. 1B with the tires with the luxury of using that tire to the limit.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see how things go. It might happen. It might not. But at the end of the day, it's all about surviving, right? Talking about surviving, those Zizors and Guayando both back to back on each other. Not sure if Zizors and Guayando might want to talk it out to have Guayando in front of them. That's mostly because currently Danak and Guayando are back to back on the same points against each other. So if Guayando maybe can get an overtake on Zizors, that might happen. If not, I got a feeling Zizors ain't gonna let Guayando by that easily. But currently they have to make it happen for point's sake. But for now though, currently strong between the two teammates, the BMW M4 as well as the Mustang. Both big cars coming down into the grid. Definitely a stark contrast between the Porsches and the Ferraris and the McLarens here. Definitely one of the taller cars on the grid, and they're definitely both very stable, very consistent, and I think that has caused them to be just silently cruising around P3, P4, and I think that has been amazing for the two drivers right here.
You say that, but Guayando currently is ahead of Dena in terms of the position, so Guayando having the advantage here in Zolder. But as you said, yeah, it's better to have a larger headroom in terms of points when compared to your rival. So possibly Caesars could let Guayando by, but I don't think Caesars is not gonna let go of that position that easily.
Oh, definitely not, but they gotta look at what is their previous lap time, because I just got to look before Danek's current lap time. Danek was setting a 129.0, basically qualifying pace on race conditions compared to Guayado and Caesars, both doing 29.5s plus. So they definitely have to sort themselves out between the two drivers to think about where to overtake, where to not, basically minimize any sort of friction between the two. If not, Danek's gonna catch up super quick, and definitely do not want that to happen in the lieu of, you know, just getting in front of the competitors and the grid.
It's very interesting to see how much pace Danak can make on these two Cabal Sim Sports cars, the M4 and the Mustang, following each other in single file, as that Ferrari just hounding down, just shaving down tenth by tenth between compared to these drivers. So Danak closing in as much as possible. Now the two Cabal drivers have to face blue flags because there is JPEG ahead of both of them. And now I think JPEG conceding. Yeah, JPEG conceding for Caesar's almost running into Boyano, but JPEG.
Oh my god.
But JPEG not wanting to be in the mix of that front runner drama. But
you say that, but they definitely have caused it, because the fact that currently Guayando is 1.2 seconds behind Z-Source has shown that they are definitely affected a little bit. I think for a fact that where can I see them? JPEG was fighting for positions with Quest. That is exactly why they didn't want to let go as much as possible. But currently though, all three teammates fighting for positions. Oh, Quest about losing it.
That could give the upper hand for JPEG Fox. JPEG right in the slipstream of Quest. Can they get the move done? Definitely not here, because two don't go into one in that chicane. But JPEG with the overspeed, they might just over it. JPEG on the inside line. That was great.
That's not gonna happen.
I think Quest turned in on JPEG, but JPEG
for sure.
got that move nice and done. That was the wrong area to hit, but brave move from JPEG to make it on that chicane.
Oh, definitely have made it stuck, but Danek currently stuck between the two of them. Definitely not ideal. Definitely, it's gonna be nice for Guayando to have Danek stuck between the two of them, but it's not gonna be fun for them because that's gonna be their positions basically lost for them. They definitely do not want to be defending. Guys, what are you doing? You gotta not defend for their position. That's not gonna be
My
nice for the
goodness.
stewards. That is not nice for the stewards. You definitely have to let the position by in blue flag conditions. Well, you don't have to, but you're not supposed to defend for positions. Currently 12 minutes remaining for the race. Definitely want to be as close as possible to your competitors, and currently with blue flags, definitely not the best strategy that is going to be happening for Danak. And so as JPEG in front of them, blue flag is definitely not ideal for sure.
Right now, Dipping Sauce, as you look over to Dipping Sauce, holding up both two Tig and Ferraris once again. That is now Parcho and Taichi. Now remember, Parcho does not have to fight for it. They are in a decent position in Silver Class, but they do want to get ahead of Swingly. So Parcho will definitely bring a fight to Dipping Sauce. But remember, Dipping Sauce, really good at defending, really not going to let Parcho by that easily. Making that Mustang as wide as it can, trying to find all decisions to not let the number 47 Silver Class Tig gang pass.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very long, hard 10 minutes, actually 11 minutes, actually 12 minutes remaining into this race. So a nice, it's gonna be a long, hard defense. It's all about making sure that you keep your tires alive, or else with how much you're pushing just to get people, get by people, it's not ideal for sure for some of these drivers. But I gotta make it work. If you don't make it work, someone else is gonna make it work, and it's not gonna be ideal when things happen for sure.
Yeah, but for now, Dipping Sauce putting up quite a decent distance between them and Parcho. Now, Parcho behind by 2 or 3 car lengths right now, but as soon as I feel like Parcho has the upper hand in the first section, but Dipping Sauce just outright running away in the third sector.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta make sure that you keep it alive, for sure. Let's see. Looking at Delta though, Denax, still fighting, chipping away. 129.2 on the previous lap compared to Zizor and Goyando 129.5. By the looks of things, they might caught up soon. But if Goyando and Zizor meets traffic again, it will be beneficial for them, as they seem like they will see Wolfen in front of them, so Denek's gonna have to try to navigate past them as fast as possible. It's up to them to see who has the better exit in terms of getting away with traffic. And I think with how chaotic and narrow this track is, it's really up to anyone's game. Auras though, fighting positions with Blade. Who will get the upper hand before the end of the race? I think Auras will definitely want to have a fight to overtake Blade, but will Blake crack under pressure? I think the answer is obviously no, but will Auras crack under pressure? That's the other question.
That's a good question. Now, keep in mind, this is a battle for the final podium position. This is the battle for P3 in the Silver Class, so it's going to be really intense. Auras, the overall faster driver, but Blade Wolf, the overall excellent defender, and just making that Aston Martin as wide as can be, not letting that 406 Lamborghini have any space alongside the number 142 RRP Aston Martin.
You gotta be careful too, finding this hard though, because if you, so you see here a slide coming down from Auras, I was gonna say, you gotta make sure you respect the travel limits as well. If you don't, it's gonna be a drive-through. And would you rather be P4? Would you have a drive-through? I guess a P5 or P6. I think the answer is pretty clear here. So it's all about making sure you're managing your track limits, making sure that if you have your limits out, sometimes it might be a good idea to just keep it simple, cut it close. You know what? Cut our losses and be done with it. But some drivers definitely want that position, and it's up to you to decide if you have any more spares. Sometimes people want to have the cuts to be spares just in case things happen for them to have an overtake, and this is definitely the time to pull out all your spares if you have them.
No, it looks like Parcho might be letting Taichi by. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think Parcho thinking that that it's 8 minutes on the clock. I don't think they see a battle with was it Swingly possible. So Parcho might be settling for letting Taichi have the overall positions, because that's not going to compromise their points finish, at least in the Silver Class.
Well, you say that, but it seems like Porsches to find in front. Not sure. Maybe that something happened. It's just then maybe a hardware failure, or maybe just having a poor exit on the last corner. So definitely still going strong. If they want to let them by, that definitely has happened. It seems like there have been some slip ups between the Porsche, but it's definitely holding up Taichi. That is what you have just said is correct. They definitely should. The better strat will be to let Taichi by just so they can fight for a dip in front, but it's anyone's game. TGR does not have a team orders policy, nor do they are. I don't think they are in the same voice chat. So it's more about navigating it silently between each other. I think it's gonna be up to them to decide who is gonna be in front. Danak though can't catch up much between the two drivers. 7 minutes remaining, but Danak is still 3.8 seconds behind the current current two drivers in front. Guayado though definitely wants Zizos to pick up the pace, or else they're gonna have issues. Currently Zizos having the worst exit coming down into the turn 7 corners before coming down to the hairpin. Hopefully not holding up too much, but the gap has closed down. 3.2 seconds is the gap, and it's gonna be a strong fight for the very end.
I am kind of rooting for Danak to get to the rear end of those two Cabal cars. This could be an interesting battle. That is remember, 3 seconds is the gap between Guayando and Danak, and they have 6 minutes, so it doesn't look possible, but with the way that Zizors and Guayando might be fighting, it could reel into the hands of Danak.
We'll see. The Mustang is notoriously a little bit harsh on tires, but the BMW is as well. Both pretty harsh on tires compared to, well, Ferrari can be a little bit harsh, but it's all up to drivers right now. Danak pushing it as hard as possible. 129.3 was the previous lap. These two in front. Not sure if they're pushing or they're cruising, but for now, both stable laps, lap after lap after lap after lap. They are all definitely in basically pro consistency, and that is definitely their ideal condition, making sure that they just keep it alive. But the gap is going to be closing out there. Then I just got past Wolfin though, but the gap just now increased a little bit and reduced a little bit. Definitely strong on the brakes in and of itself, the Ferrari. So it's gonna be, we're gonna see the gap closing in very close very soon, I think.
Yeah, it's really close cut between the two Cabal cars. Now, Guayano is 2 tenths right behind Zizors. I think, yeah, it doesn't look like there are team orders in play. With 5 minutes to go, I think this will be the position that game, set, match. It is Zizors ahead, but Danak right now 2.6, around just under 3 seconds between Guayando and Danak.
Yeah, it's basically about half a second every single lap. You only get at this point with the lap times with 1 minute 30, you get about 3 laps or so. Yes, 3 laps or so, and looking at the pace difference though, half a second a lap. They will get to the back of them, but will they overtake stick? I think that's up to them to decide. Currently though, Blade still in front of RS, fighting strong for that position. RS, I think, still cracking a little bit under pressure. I think that's a thing that RS has done previously, but still holding strong for P4 though. They definitely should be happy about this position that they're having, but I think they're gonna be talking about what it could have been, given they were pretty strong on pole. But it's definitely a good recovery drive and definitely a pretty strong drive for the drivers involved currently, and it's gonna be a really hard battle for positions for the remaining 4 minutes of this race.
Yeah, Blade Wolf again is going to be a tough nut to crack for Oras in terms of battling for the final podium position, because yeah, Blade Wolf does not want to let this position go. He wants that podium to himself, and he is going to do whatever it takes to keep that podium to himself, making that car as wide as it can be into the chicane. I think Blade Wolf had a slight advantage over Oras in some sections, especially that chicane. But Oras, right now, quite far ahead of Blade Wolf. That is a considerable gap. That's like 2 to 3 car lengths between them and Blade Wolf.
Yeah, definitely a pretty strong gap between all of them. And for now though, it's gonna be a very close fight. Well, Porcho and this, you see the gap pretty close. Definitely a fighting chance is possible for some of the drivers. So nice to see that they are, going at it.
As Parcho goes down the inside of Dipping Sauce. Parcho really wanting to get past Dipping Sauce in terms of overall position, but they're slowly running out of time to get and fight Swingly. So I think Parcho has to settle for this position for now, because hold on, Parcho might definitely justifiably trying to fight Dipping Sauce because they want to get ahead of Swingly for the silver class win. But Dipping Sauce is smack dab in the way of that silver class win for Parcho.
Yeah, definitely a very, very, it's about navigating, but I think Dip's gonna give that position away that easily. They are fighting for overall positions after all, so the silver class standings do matter for him. Doesn't matter for the other way around though. So currently they will want to defend for this position just because they want to be on position on the grid itself. P8 is still points for them, and P9 is definitely not points for them. So they definitely are defending for proper positions, but it's the other way around where the Porcho is not gaining points from all this unless they're looking at overall standings in and of itself.
I think, yeah, there's no way Parcho is making 7 seconds on Swingly, being that far ahead with less than 2 minutes to go, essentially just 2 laps. So Parcho might have to settle for being behind Dipping Sauce, but Parcho right now looking really aggressive. They really want the overall position by the looks of things. They probably want a bit of revenge for that incident earlier where he dived into the inside of Dipping Sauce and then spun out. He felt like it was on Dipping Sauce for turning into him, but Dipping Sauce right now having no problem holding off Parcho. They're actually going to be fighting for the next lap. Their next lap will be the final lap as RK is crossing the line for the final lap.
Yeah, it's gonna be the final lap, and it's only less than a minute remaining. So I think the Porsche finding out there are some weaknesses in Dipping Saucer's Dip's driving in certain corners, so they definitely want to capitalize on that. But how will they capitalize on it? The Mustang strong on power. They definitely have to get an overrun. But if the overrun is not there, they will not be able to do it. They're still strong on the Mustang, holding on onto dear life for P8. And it's definitely positions, good points for sure. And that will keep Taichi in P10. That will be good for points and keeping their competitor behind on the grid, and it's needed to make sure they get the points. Currently, looking at with the fight previously, Guayando is still behind Zizos. Danak though, closing in 2 seconds behind them. Not possible for an overtake at all at this point, so it's going to be a settle 2, 3, and 5, 3, 4, and 5. RK though coming down, still going on the final lap. It's going to be a nice ending for them into this race. Coming down into the last sector, I think we're going to be looking at them cross the line as the rest are just starting to, settle down. Laparche is definitely not doing an overtake as we see here in the Delta. So it's going to be RK coming down the last few corners. It's going to be them crossing the line for the win at round 5 in Simufur and Zolder.
Yep, as RK crosses the line, they continue to rise up their championship efforts, and in terms of the numbers, I think, RK has most of his hands on that championship trophy, unless I don't think anyone else has a chance on RK. I think RK has got this in the bag right now.
Oh, that's a send. Taichi sending it for P9. Will that stick? Not sure what happened there. Oh, it doesn't stick. No, it does stick for P9. That's Laporcho giving positions away. And I think that's Taichi just pushing it just to make sure that he has position. I don't think Laporcho is going to be happy with that overtake, but it is what it is. It's the last move of the race, and it's going to be Taichi though getting P9 behind in front of Laporcho for P10.
And looks like Blade Wolf has successfully held off Auras as well. That is a brilliant defensive effort from Blade Wolf to keep that podium position. That is well done for the number 142 Aston Martin. Meanwhile, for 1V, it looks like it's a it looks like it's a strong win for the number 911 Cabal Sim Sports Porsche. It is
Not done just yet.
1G with the AM class win as they cross the line, and Dirg has to settle for P2 here in Zolder.
Hell yeah. Amazing drive for all the drivers, amazing drive for Honvi, Dirk, as well as Fluffy, P3 in class. So nice driving from all of them. And it's definitely been an amazing drive for all the drivers that survived it. Zolder is definitely not an easy track to win, and not an easy track to race as well. So nice to see all the drivers just keeping it alive and, you know, just getting a good race out of all this.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I think despite not winning the AM class race, I think this is a decent debut that Fluffy wants to get pole and to finish on the podium. That is, I don't think, I mean, besides getting pole and winning, I don't think there's any other better way to start out with a new team. And it is great to see how Fluffy starts out their fresh chapter in Take Gang Racing.
Yeah, definitely amazing to see the results here, and it has been amazing. But to round out the top 5 this time around, it will be RK in first, Vossi in second, Caesars in third, Guayando in fourth, and that was Danak in fifth. I think the timing has lost a little bit as drivers have come out of the grid, and it's going to be an amazing top 5 finish for all these drivers for sure.
So it looks like our results at Zolder are game set match. Of course, there will be drivers reporting incidents. There will be a few penalties knocking a few drivers down here and there, but I believe that concludes our penultimate round. That was a pretty interesting round. There was some first lap drama. There was RK climbing back up to the field into dominant position, and finally, and we did have some battles for the podium positions in all classes. So what a way to have this penultimate round. And of course, next week we will be having the finale over at the Rebel Ring once again. This time we're calling it round 6 in Styria, just like how Formula One has both the Austrian and the Styrian Grand Prix. So again, as we saw in Red Bull Ring in that, well, race that totally did not happen, it's going to be very exciting if anyone could bring a challenge to RK.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it goes. But for now, though, it's going to be next week, same time, same channel. But if you want to join us in this community, you can look at us at Discord. It's going to be links in the description below. If you want to follow our social media sites, it's on Twitter as well as on Blue Sky. You can find that as well. But for now, it will be us signing off. Thank you to Suzuka to be my co-commentator, as well as Mike to be our broadcaster this time around. And it's good to see everyone still doing well. And we'll hope to see you next week on round 6. It's gonna be Chinese New Year, actually Lunar New Year for most of us here in Asia. And I hope you guys enjoy Lunar New Year. And for the rest of the world, hope to see you next week. Good night.
Good night.